Hey guys, sorry about the last event. I was a little rushed on that one, as you probably could tell. And, the groups didn't come out till the night before, and I had to put it together really quickly. I got the event name wrong. I was all over the place. Blast London's not happening yet, so don't stress. And also just my team sucked. So let's just forget about that. Focus on EWC. And this one also was kind of stinky because, again, we've got single elimination bracket, which we hate in fantasy. But we do have a third place decider, which I think makes this one a little more interesting, right? Because it means you kind of want to prioritize teams that get to the semifinals. Because even if you lose the semis, you've still got a chance to make up more points in the third place decider. So the main thing is longevity here. We want semifinal teams. So the other thing that I guess makes this a little bit funner for drafting is that we've got a lot of teams. So there's a few more options of what you can do. But again, we need to get to semis. So we're looking at teams that can win their quarters. So teams like Vitality, who obviously have a rematch versus Liquid. Bit shaky versus Liquid last time, but it's still Vitality. And then Tyler Australis, very inconsistent team. So I have Vitality pretty comfortably going through. I think that there's a lot of interesting teams here in Na'Vi and the Mongols. I think that either of these could get to that semi. Mongols obviously got to the finals of Bounty, but Na'Vi looked really good in Cologne with Makaze. So I wouldn't write them off. I think they could be a good team to draft into too. I think this section is a little too dicey for me because you've got Mals, so I don't think we'll have a problem with VP, although VP sometimes are very good, but most of the time aren't. But I'm more concerned with Falcons because Kiyosuke looked really good on debut. Now they've had a little bit more time with him, we haven't actually seen what that looks like yet, but I have a fair bit of confidence just on the firepower of this team that they should be getting into this quarterfinal, and I think they will give Mouse a run for their money, so that one could definitely have Falcons winning. Down this side though, no questions. Should be Spirit every day of the week. Sontix is on the way out, but that didn't seem to affect him at Bounty, and I don't see Heroic, FaZe, or Aurora really causing any problems for Spirit in their current form. Right then, looking at some players. Vitality, I think we've kind of gone off the Flames Mezzi combo. I think that ship sailed. I think Rops is the one player that I think retains value no matter the form of this team. Cyber is a little too expensive, but Rops' floor is so high that I think he's the best player to draft here. But I actually don't hate Apex, and I think IGLs in a single elimination format like this, especially on the teams that you expect to go far, have a lot more value than they do otherwise because the team and role points suddenly become much more valuable than individual player performance. So Apex, given he's actually been putting out some decent numbers alongside Flames, doesn't feel that bad. And it's the same with Chopper. For 187 in particular, for a team that we expect to get to semis, maybe win the whole thing, probably win the whole thing, he's actually really good value, especially because he allows you to get so many other players. I think everyone on Spirit has a good case to draft, although Sontix I'd take above Sway just because I think pound for pound he tends to output a little bit more, although we did see some good stuff from Sway towards the end of Bounty. Mals are really tricky to draft. Obviously, Brolin and Jimfat are good price and decent value, and I think if you're gonna go Mouse players, those are the two I'd look at, just because even if they do bomb out, they're still gonna, not gonna cost you too much. But you really do feel like you want Torji, Sphinx, or Zertian. Like, you want the stars if you're drafting Mouse, at least one of them, and just with their run, it's too hard to draft them, I think, and I'd probably pass on Mouse this event outside of Brolin and Jimfat. Mongols are in an almost similar situation, but thankfully they have an easier opening matchup and I think a very winnable quarterfinal. So I think Techno, Blitz, both really good value, but Senzu and 910 fall into the same camp as these three, where I'd rather just get Rops, I think, than one of them. Na'Vi are a little bit cheaper across the board, and so I think they're quite appealing. Alexi for 177 is a very cheap IGL to allow you to get some really high value players. But I think the player that really stands out to me here is Bit. Sure, Makaze was really good in Cologne playoffs, but I think Bit is the best player on this team. And for 209, he's actually a pretty good price. Like, if you compare that to, say, like Blitz or, Flames, like, you're basically getting a much better player for the same price or, similar price. FaZe are really tricky to draft just because of the group they have, but Elysian and Frozen are both really good value, and I could see a reason to draft one of them, but do you believe FaZe can beat Spirit? If you can't say yes to that, then I don't think you should be drafting them. And Aurora, I mean, that loss to the Mongols, that absolute throw speaks volumes to where this team is at the moment. and I don't think they beat FaZe, let alone Spirit. Falcons is probably the last team I'm interested in here, just because I think they definitely can make it through to the semis. And Kickstand is really good value for an IGL, similar to Alexi, but probably a little bit more fragging output. But I think Nico actually stands out the most here. 205 for Nico is actually quite a good price for him. Sure, had a bit of a rough time at Cologne, but that's the first event with Kiyosuke, and I think just firepower alone, this team should be going pretty far here, and Nico could be a really good draft. Astralis are a team that are either the best team in the server or the worst team in the server. There's no in-between with this team. They're so inconsistent, and so you either draft them and they carry you through, or you draft them and they bomb out. So I wouldn't draft them, especially because they have Vitality round 2. And G2 I would love to draft if this was any other event except for a single elimination format, because I think their players are really exciting prices and I liked what I saw from them at their debut. But the event just means they're just not draftable. And that's kind of the situation with every team down here. Like, sure, Perfecto for 177 VP, they probably can upset Mouse, but every team that each of these teams has to play against, they are the underdog in. And it's very difficult to see any of them getting to the semi-finals, which is ultimately what we're drafting for with this event. For my draft, I'm going to be grabbing Rops from Vitality. I think he is the only player in Vitality I think is retaining value game after game. And I think the rest are too expensive for me to draft here. I'm going to go double up on Spirit instead. And I'm going to go Zontix and Chopper, just because the value for money on these two is really good. And Zontix has been performing really well. I'm then going to be doubling up on another team that I think has a decent chance of getting to semis. But their game versus the Mongols is going to be tricky, but I can't really pass up on Bit at 209, and Alexi is really affordable just to allow me to get this Rops pick as well. I have 3 players that I think can really output, and I'm hoping that Chopper and Alexi through roles and through team success should still get me decent points. So that's going to be my team. If Na'Vi get to the semis, then I am dreaming, but I'm still okay even if they can't beat the Mongols. So let me know you're drafting, let me know what you think, and as always, good luck.